Hey Don, Cheshawn came out yesterday and just talked about it being a hungry offensive line group with an appetite to improve and grow on the field. Are you seeing that out of those guys this week?
Absolutely. We have no choice. I mean, it's not acceptable what happened, and that's the way I expect, and we expect them to respond. And that's what we did yesterday in practice, and today we did some things in that same manner and same mentality. So that's a step in the right direction.
Have you seen them bounce back the right way mentally?
Yeah, I mean, it's, as it should be. Everything's pointing at them and me, and it's what it is. That's the responsibility that you have. That's what's great about playing here and coaching here and being here. And we got to step up. We got to play better. We got to do better, and we will. And they understand that. The leadership from Marcus Jackson's been outstanding, and I expect it to continue.
Do you think the line regressed from the Georgia game, or do you think they played about the same?
The thing of it is the Georgia game, the disappointment, again, coming out of that one was the number of hits that, people look at numbers and stats and sacks and this and that. None of us like the fact that our quarterback gets put on the ground, but also the hits are the ones that matter. That wasn't the case on Saturday. Saturday there were some things that we, mistake, communication, missed assignment that happened that you can't have happen in games of that magnitude and against that type of a defense. Now, again, from the running game, not acceptable for what it was, but it wasn't that there was a bunch of runs Saturday that were lost yardage runs, which was a positive. Not a lot of gains in which we were 2nd and 5 and so forth, but the one particular run that we've worked on, there was some progress made in that area, but nowhere near the standard of this program for where we need to be. But I don't think it was a major step back. We played against an extremely talented defense in which, again, in this league, any mistake that you make, teams capitalize on it. They played well. We didn't get it done.
Have you seen much improvement out of your backup offensive lineman to the point where you would feel comfortable playing them?
Yes, Brett Kendrick and Austin Sanders have really made a lot of progress over the last couple of weeks, and Coach Jones talks about it and individual improvement and where we're at in the season and where guys need to improve, and it's tough for them, and I can't say enough about those two guys in particular because a lot's been put on them in practice, what's expected of them and so forth, and particularly Brett Kendrick having started a game, not starting, and the way he's responded. His future is extremely bright, and he's going to play a lot of football for us. And just his overall growing up and maturing is really, it's good to see. And Austin Sanders is understanding it as well.
What do those guys have to do to get on the field this year, and to beat out some of the guys that are starting now?
They're close. I mean, it's after a situation of Saturday in which, again, mistakes can't happen. We can't afford those, and how it can have an impact on the game and so forth. Competition's a great thing. So, when the results turn out like they do, guys can't sit there and feel comfortable in the spots that they're in, and that's what we're continuing to work towards as far as developing competition and guys that are getting better, that are pushing people. And there isn't, again, that they feel bad enough about what has happened and how we haven't played well. Their work ethic and attitude's been fantastic. The execution hasn't been what it's needed to be. So, again, we keep going back to work, and we got to get things fixed quicker, and that's what we're working towards.
Do you think the gap scheme blocking that you're running, is that something that helps this offensive line, do you feel?
Yeah, you always want to try to create some angles. Double teams, that type of thing. Still along the way in that scheme, there's a guy that's going to be potentially singled up, being maybe a center blocking back and that type of thing. But you always try to mix things up as much as you can, and you're also trying to develop some consistency with the backs getting their proper reads, their run reads, and all those type of things. So, it's one in which we always look to grow the package, but at the same time, getting good at something. And that's something that we're evaluating as a staff and looking at and continuing to develop in that area.
When you evaluate the Florida game, did you feel you had some success in that regard?
Yeah, again, the one particular play that, probably in training camp wasn't one of our better plays at the time, ended up being better for the defense we faced and what they were allowing us with some angles and that type of thing. And the backs did a nice job, particularly Jalen, reading it and running it and so forth. So, again, there's the obvious negatives that come out of the game, but looking at the positives, which I want to find, and these kids need that. Trust me, they have enough negative right now. There's some positive that needs to be taken from this game to grow from, and that's what our job is as coaches and teachers is, correcting the mistakes, but teaching them and making them understand, hey, look, here are some positive results. Here's what happens when we don't do things right. So some of the things that we did well, we made sure we addressed and showed them as well, because, again, they can, only after a while so much. So I got to keep pushing and demanding.
You got two true freshmen starting on the right side. Is there any merit to switching your guards so you don't have two freshmen on one side, or do you think that's irrelevant?
Nah, it's and at this point in time, and I mean, here's the thing, and it's the beauty of this place, and it's what's great about this place is you play against people like Oklahoma, like Georgia, and Florida. And at the end of the day, you look back on it and say those were three opponents that we played that are really quality opponents. And two of the three were on the road. And I said to guys, a week ago we scored 32, and there were some things that we did well or some things we didn't do well. So, to say that we necessarily overnight in 1 week just went completely downhill and that, no, we're going to keep driving and going. And to answer your question, to just wholesale change anything, no, it's just I think there's a point in time right now where the freshmen hit the so-called wall that you got to work through. It's also like rookies in the NFL where they hit a certain point where it's just, and it's, I don't see signs of that from Jay-Sean and Coleman, but you got to be aware of it, and you got to keep making sure and redefining things for them that they completely understand and they thoroughly understand situational football, down and distance, defensive alignments, and so forth.
Coach, Jay-Sean had talked about just trying to get better with communication. How does that communication process kind of work? When you get to the line of scrimmage, what do you have to communicate?
It starts with the center making his initial call, and the guard's got to pass it throughout to the tackles. And then, therefore, we're all on the same page. Anytime the center makes one call, we all follow suit. So, and there's a saying in football that if the center calls the front and we block the front, no matter what his call is, all five are on the same page. If two are blocking one way, three are blocking the other, we're blocking two separate fronts, we're not on the same page communication-wise. So it all starts with him and taking charge with it. And again, the guards have then got to echo it out to the tackles. The minute that you assume a thing that it's understood without saying something, that's when things go wrong. And you can never, and here's the thing, a play's over with, and people, since you bring that up, a lot goes into a given play. As Coach Jones talks about, every play has a life of its own. Once a play's over, you may have got hit in the mouth, or you may have hit somebody in the mouth. And the very next play, you got to snap and clear, down and distance, play from the quarterback, call from the center, defense alignment, this, that, and the other. There's a lot to be processed in a given play. So I guess the maturity of snapping and clearing and just fully understanding one play to the next and playing at a high up-tempo speed, a lot goes into it. So the guys are, especially the freshmen, are definitely getting a taste of that and understanding how you got to have a short-term memory after something that doesn't go well for you.
Sometimes you'll see like